last month, we had talked about having a public hearing in regards to refuse. After some research, kind of my fault here. So we were talking about the idea of increasing the garbage cans, but in order to do that, you got to change the village code. Every time you change the village code, it costs money. Looking at just that one change that we would have made would have caused a bunch of changes. So we would have paid for the one change and had another public hearing and paid for multiple changes after. So why don't we just have a discussion about refuse in general tonight? Anyone that wants to chime in can chime in. And then we'll actually have a public hearing next month, and that way we can, we can say the public hearing is going to be to discussion of the actual refuse code. That way it's all encompassing rather than the narrow definition that I did. Right? So we can start that discussion right now. Last month we had talked a little bit about the idea of increasing the size of the garbage cans, and after a couple of chit chats with Marty, a big concern that he had is that by doing that, people aren't going to follow, whether knowingly or unknowingly, the 40-pound.
I agree with that.
I agree too. But what I was thinking is, what about the recycling bins being able to go up to 45 gallons? Because if it's really just paper, tin cans, cardboard and stuff, I don't, the amount that you would have to stack in there would be astronomical. And I think that would be something that I think that we could consider. It'd be a lot more convenient, I think, for people.
Well, it brings people to recycle too.
Yeah.
I know we use 2 different recycle bins,
Yeah.
I believe, so that would save on that.
For sure, and like, I think that might be something to look at for the next one. When we talk about it in general, the whole general thing, I think that would be something that could alleviate a little bit of the stress for people and going out and buying multiple, because at Christmas time, oh goodness, how many recycling bins do you have going at Christmas and such like that? But I would say keeping the garbage cans at 34 gallons is probably the best. Because like, if you're like me, now, we were in possession of 2 cats that are technically not mine, they're my daughter's, but that apparently gifted to us anyway. So when you, when you do the kitty litter and stuff, and you put that in, that gets heavy, that weighs it down and stuff, so it's stuff like that. So I think that's something. Marty, you have anything to weigh in on?
Well, and obviously, like I said, the 45 gallon, now you're looking at, pretty obvious that you're probably gonna get a lot that's gonna be over 40 pounds now. And with that being said, now you're looking at more tagging of the garbage not being taken, which creates more problems. Now you have to revert back to go pick it up for the people to lighten the load, So to me, you're not gaining anything with the 45 gallon of garbage. And I think a lot of this is us being more, helping to educate the people more. Little things like, drilling holes in the bottom of your garbage can to release the water out, so it's not as heavy. Because we've got to look at, injuries means workman's comp rates, right?
For sure.
And that's what I look at. I'm looking at, you don't want these men that are doing your garbage to be on workman's comp for the next how many years, because that's on the taxpayers. So I think we need to, and one of the things that when you have your fall festival, I would like to have something at DPW to have people come and be able to educate them on some of the things that we do at DPW. One of them is the garbage and recycle, because that is getting a little more stingent with the state, DEC, DANK, the county, and I just met with the new deputy director of solid waste at the county, sat in my office for an hour today, and there's going to be fines being levied against people that don't, or be against municipalities that don't follow guidelines of recycle. So, the tagging thing has to be done, but I just think we need to bring the public in and sit down and educate them that this is why this is being done. We're just a blip on the screen, but we have to follow guidelines just like everybody else does. And I think, like you said, with possibly the 45 gallon recycle and the 34 garbage, that's would help satisfy some people that have both cans right now, because they've had to go out and buy. We have actually been picking up no matter what size can right now, because I don't know where we were at when the tag fest went forward. So I told the guys, just pick up every size can until we get this resolved. Don't.
So when it comes to the recycle, are they dumping or are they picking?
Well,
They're
and I guess that's gonna be
They're
right the size of your,
What's the height of a 45 gallon can, right? That's another 12 inches,
About the same height as my 32 gallon.
so.
and one of the thing, so one of the things like I was trying to talk to the crew about and the foreman, that it's like when we tag a recycle bin, okay? I'm like, why are we not taking what is recyclable and just leave what's not? I mean, so now we have to revert back, go back for another trip, while these people go out and sort through and take out what's not recyclable. Well, we could already been there and done that, just leave what's not recyclable. And put a tag on it, so that people understand. And then, like I said, this is all things moving forward. I think that we have to all work together, to make this, you know, a better program.
After our last meeting, I reached out to you, Marty, the copy Shalyn, and Monique. So I want to know, what's this cost us, right? Should the village be in the garbage business anymore? Should we, right? Yes, it's a great service for 25 bucks, right? So I reached out to some private haulers, and they're 30 bucks, right? After workers' comp and everything, really, if we're gonna do this right and safely, we need to stop what we're doing and get a garbage truck that picks up the big ones, right? So, you know, I think you have people out right now. I don't know if they're out in workers' comp,
No, I don't,
So-
yeah.
so really, right, at the end of the day for me, it's,
Well, right, well, you have to
Safety,
look at,
right?
you have to look at, like, you know, take Casella as the leader, right? You know, they didn't go to these trucks because they're losing money, right? I mean,
exactly.
they understood, it's one man in the truck, no touching, this all mechanical arm comes out and picks it up, it's a 96 gallon, but you'd have to look, that would then have to be like a bi-weekly pickup instead of a weekly, because then your tipping fees would probably double. So that's what I'm saying, that's
So
all,
I think right now, the 25 bucks is a great service, right? Whether people like what they're getting or not, you know, I talked to a couple of private guys, they're charging 30 bucks. Now, I'm not gonna say their names, that's not what I mean. But it seems like the village, we have a double standard, right? Oh yeah, I'll take anything. What do you mean you take anything? Right? I know there's village residents who contract with someone else to come take anything. So, and I don't know how these other haulers get away with it. They throw everything, but we show up, no, you can't have that, you can't have that, you can't have that.
well, and that's what I was just getting at. This is what's gonna happen, is those private haulers are gonna start getting fined, and some very large fines, because of the way the recycling is not being
You know,
done.
and I'm not counting out these private haulers, they've been doing it forever, right? But it seems like there's a double standard. We in the village, we pay the most
Yeah.
up the road here, but we get the less of the services, and buying a piece of sheetrock, it's
But,
not.
and like I said, you also gotta look at, you know, for that $25, we're picking up your
Oh,
brush,
it's a great
we're
service.
picking up your bags of leaves, we're picking up your yard waste.
It's a great service, and I think the village residents really need to know that.
Yeah.
You know, either we get rid of it, we get out of the business altogether, right? Or we look forward for something safe, right?
And I will say, the last thing I'm gonna say about this is, within the last month, and I know the last couple months, a lot of people have been unhappy in the public with how things have went with the garbage, but in the last month, we've had 2 incidents at DPW where somebody come and dumped garbage in front of the overhead door at our facility, and the other one went up and dumped garbage up by our salt storage barn. That's sad. You're dumping garbage on your community, man. I mean,
That is sad.
it is, you know.
And the community needs to know there's now gonna be cameras installed.
Yeah,
And,
that's unacceptable.
It is, it is. It's,
was it garbage that was tagged or flagged? Just
I don't know. It was just dumped there, and, you know, I don't know what's wrong with the world today, man, but that's crazy.
That is crazy, that's unacceptable.
Somebody also left their tagged leaves, by the garbage can right in front of the town hall as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
So we have the actual code for everyone to look at, it's in your office tonight. Look at that and we'll establish, anyone else got anything to say?
Well, I mean, I just wanna say, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, I've had more research into garbage than I really had cared to recently. And I'm glad that Marty brought up the workman's comp, so I did do some research into that. I went to the OSHA estimator of costs for injuries, and of course, they vary. I used a 3% default, which is a little high for the public sector, but they do vary between a puncture for a needle prick, you know, if you get an infection from that, or if you're using a hernia or a back spring, but, you know, those costs are very high, and you need to consider that, of course. When you're looking at the size of the thing, so.
Okay, so let's establish the public hearing date for next month. That would be August 2024, and we'd be considering, consideration of amending, adopting our solid waste law. So entertain a motion for that. Moved by trustee Simpson, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Winston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next up, approval of the meeting minutes for May 21 and June 18, 2024. I'll accept entertain a motion. Moved by trustee Winston, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Peets. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report.
Hello, everybody. You should have all the reports in your Google Drive for the expenses and budget reports. Expenses, budget reports, and the balance sheets. If you have any questions, let me know. The summary is listed for 23-24. There's still a number of accruals that need to be made, probably in the next month. So these numbers obviously are still gonna change. Obviously, the biggest one that's going to impact the general fund right now is going to be the sales tax accrual. Once I can get the numbers from the county, I will get that booked. Also listed as 24-25 year-to-date for obviously this June. Going down to number 4, just mentioned that, I've already started out closing the year, but the next month we'll really get full swing here, actually within the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Now that the taxes are starting to slow down some. Speaking of, through the close of business on July 12th, we've collected just over 5.9 million, which is about 84% of the adjusted warrant. We're at approximately 80% through the same time frame last year, so we're up about 4% compared to last year. Mortgage tax was received June 13th for just over $13,000, which is down from $14,000 same period last year. This is the effect of a lot of people slowing down home buying, interest rates going up, those kind of things. Bond payment was made June 1st for the Center Street, Parker Ave sewer lines bond, $35,000 principal, $81.28 for interest. Lastly is the annual budget amendments and transfers for 23-24, which, they have copies of those.
I do.
You do, okay. So I think typically we do fund by fund. So the first one is the general fund. Looking to get authorization to transfer $472,195.46 from the specified accounts to low to cover the end of the year overages in the 23-24 budget. We need a motion in order to.
I thought we were going to do them all at once.
Now we do, I think it's fund by fund.
Okay. Entertain a motion for that transfer, please.
So
Moved by trustee Simpson, second by trustee Peets. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one, Kevin?
next one is the refuse fund, authorization to transfer $25,632.39 from the specified account below to cover the year-end overages for the 23-24 budget.
Entertain a motion for the budget transfer for the refuse fund. Moved by trustee Winston, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Peters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next is the water fund, so looking for authorization to transfer from the specified accounts in the amount of $84,351.80 to cover the year-end overages for the 23-24 budget.
Entertain a motion for the budget transfers for the water fund. Moved by trustee Simpson, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Winston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The sewer fund is next, looking to transfer $49,914.22 from the specified accounts to cover the year-end overages for the 23-24 budget.
Entertain a motion for the budget transfer to sewer fund. Moved by trustee Simpson, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Peters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Lastly is the joint recreation fund, looking to transfer $132,536.64 from the specified accounts to cover year-end overages in the 23-24 budget.
Entertain a motion for the budget transfer to the joint rec fund. Moved by trustee Winston, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Simpson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
What I will add is, in the joint recreation fund, it looks like it's a lot of money that they're over, but throughout the year, he's had money that was not budgeted for as revenue from NIPA, that he ended up having a project where it was, or equipment to purchase, so he buys the equipment, get the reimbursement from NIPA, that's why you're seeing some revenues, sometimes of capturing that revenue to offset the expense that was budgeted for initially. So that is all that I have. Any questions?
Thanks, Kevin.
Before he goes further, can I just run back up to the public hearing, just to be clear?
Sure.
That is not just regarding the container size, there will be changes, various changes throughout, the entire code. So I believe Marty has a list, of those revisions, and I'll have the, local law in its final format sometime next week.
Committee, code.
Well, we haven't yet, because everybody's on vacation.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
don't
tough. Aaron sent some emails, and I don't, we're chugging along.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be many reports, as everyone's been on 4th of July, while vacations are on. No problem. DPW?
I think that's the same. We tried to get together, even tried to do a WebEx, but that didn't work out either. I know there were some questions concerning people not paying their bill correctly, the water meters. Any idea what's going on with that, Marty?
I mean, they're not paying.
Well, people are not allowing your staff in there.
Yeah, some of that happens. I don't know where we're at right now with it. I mean, I know just last week, I think I had a couple people call me about overages, and they explained to me that one lady was watering her trees, and, you know what I mean? And one guy filled the pool twice, so was letting us know, because we put mailers on the door or whatever to allow us to come in and look at it, but they called and I talked to them. As far as any other, possibly, maybe Nikki could chime in if there was more of that, I'm not aware of.
I think, are you talking about stop meters?
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't let us in,
Right.
we just start to estimate, and we continue to estimate and estimate.
So we're not shutting off the water.
No.
No, we can't,
We just estimate, okay.
but,
And we continue to estimate at a higher rate until they let us in.
and sometimes that doesn't even work.
So we just pay the bill.
Yep.
Now, if they don't pay their bill, eventually you can, we talked about this, sending them a certified letter and then contacting DOH, letting them know that we will terminate the water service unless they, yeah, so.
Or, yeah, we did talk about the certified. Did we ever do that yet?
I think everyone that we've ever dealt with, at least since I've been here, a few, they end up calling, I
Yeah.
explain, I'm like, all you need to do is let us in there.
Yeah, exactly.
maybe there's an issue in their home, they don't know about.
Right, well, and that's the whole purpose of this, right, allowing us in there to look at the
A
meter.
huge water issue, maybe you're
and-
dumping it out, and
Yeah.
you don't know you're dumping
They
it out.
think, a lot of times they think we're gonna come in and put in a new water main, it's gonna cost them more money, when in reality, it's going to be saving a pretty good chunk of change. So, usually, and the water department's great, I remember one of my cousins, they called and said, hey, you've got a problem, you're using more water than normal, well, find out they have a running toilet or something
I
like
got a
that.
call last week on my rental.
They've called me and said, boy, Greg, you're using an awful lot of water. And I said, yeah, I just had 4 teenagers not using this to stay in my house for a week. I was like, oh.
Well, I think the problem with this is the stop meters, they're not always being estimated high enough. So
Yeah.
when they go back and, like, we're not getting the amount that we should be getting if they're not estimated high enough. People are just
Yeah.
not paying, and they need to pay for that. So I think it's important that we get in there if we can, you know? If we haven't sent the letters, we should send them. I don't know how many there are, but, I mean, when I was there for years, the same people,
Yeah,
and they just wouldn't let us in. For like 3 years, same people. And I'm willing to bet that those same people are still at the stop meter.
We'll just continue to estimate a higher rate until they see the letter.
So, we need to get together, because there's stuff that you wanted to talk about,
Yeah, and well,
just
actually,
didn't
one of the
work
things
out.
I do have to discuss real quick, we did have an issue at the wastewater plant with the switchgear, which goes to the backup power to run the plant. We had some major issues with that. So currently, the state that we are in is we have no backup system in place. And it's could be quite costly for this repair. We have an outfit we had to bring in just to troubleshoot it, which was about $9,000. And we really are not even set up to bring in a temporary power plant to power the place. So we're working on that. We had to let DEC know what the issue, what's going on, because if we have a power outage, right now, we have no means to power that facility. That's pretty significant.
Marty, would it be, Taylor was telling me about this at the tournament this weekend. He was explaining how costly this could be, getting that second line in there. Have we explored the idea of the second power source being a generator?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We don't even have the temporary setup
Yeah.
to bring a generator unit in, which we're working right now, trying to get the exact size of what we are gonna need for a generator. And I have been talking with a firm that would come in and do the wiring to have the leads there so that we could bring a generator in if we need be. But we still don't have the concrete number of what size kilowatts that we're gonna need for a unit to bring in there. For a temporary, if we need be.
Is that what you would need the second power line, you just have the
Just-
power line and the generator? And
Yeah.
I was under the impression that just getting that generator would be cheaper than fixing that second line.
It would be.
Yeah.
But still, even to have a generator that size, you know what I mean, is still something that, it's an issue, right? I mean, it's a big issue, and we're, right now, just, take it day by day, trying to get through every day, so.
Okay.
Just wanted to add the cleanup vouchers have been started to hand out already, about 500 so far. People have been very pleasant about it, not giving a hard time. Some have just asked why, but they're just questioning, and there's been no issues with that.
Okay. Economic community development?
Not much really going on that end except Fall Fest, we're still moving ahead with that.
Emergency services, police?
I spoke with Chief, he didn't have anything, do you have anything else?
Rescue, we did not meet yet, again, vacations, well, fire?
Fire's been doing their training at the house that was donated by the town.
Personnel?
Nothing to report this month.
Yeah, like I said, I got 3 interviews scheduled for July 29th.
All right, awesome. Rec?
kinds of good stuff. So these guys are busy as usual. Massena youth soccer registration over. This is difficult, I know I had my hand in this for 10 years. Over 500 kids, which is great, and as always, they need coaches, so if you want to coach and your kid's playing, get a hold of Mike McCabe, he would love to have you coach. Summer rec is going well, about 140 kids per day. Alcoa Park cleanup was on June 21st, and Horizons spearheaded that, and they had some trash pickup and a family event afterwards, and the summer concert series kicks off this week, right? Have they already had one?
Yeah.
Or no?
We had a couple rain
So,
games.
so kicks off this week, a lot of good stuff going on there.
As far as new business, the frog jumping contest is July 25th, there's gonna be lots of prizes. Love Massena event was July 13th, that's put on by NTC. There is a Calypso trip again this year, it's going to be August 12th, it's $50 a person, but children under 13 have to be accompanied by an adult. Softball tournaments are pretty much every weekend, this past weekend was a breast cancer awareness fundraiser. The town beach is going well, it's fully staffed with certified lifeguards, and parking and entry to the beach are still free. And our next meeting will be August 13th.
Our initial public comment period, anyone wishing to address the board, please state your name, tell us your concerns. Bob?
Not that anybody here is gonna enter, but the frog jump is actually Thursday, it's not the
Yeah, it's this
25th.
Thursday.
Oh,
Awesome.
Oh,
that's always the fun
He
event.
gave the wrong date at the meeting.
oh, okay.
Don?
Yes, my name is Donald Lucas, and I got some issues I'd like to bring to the village board. Number one, when you posted it was gonna be about garbage collection. I had some issues with that. But I'm here to encourage the village board to set up a public comment section on tenant responsibilities, because I bought in some examples of less than favorable tenants in my neighborhood. Greg, you know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
I've got some pictures for you. I live in a neighborhood that has been historically for generations, families moving into the same houses. Since the closing of General Motors, a lot of people abandoned their properties, and we've got unscrupulous landlords coming up and buying these properties, and they have absolutely no consideration for the degradation and the blight they're bringing into the communities. I have one apartment building on Center Street that last year I had to call in a piano that had been sitting in the front yard for 2 years, uncovered. It was a piece of junk. They couldn't trim the brush or the grass around it. But that's just one example. And Greg, do you know the video I sent to you of this landlord that had a 14-foot section of metal roofing, 3 foot wide, come off, that was only attached at the ridge, and it swung from side to side, making all kinds of noise 24 hours a day. If you remember back in April and May, we had a lot of windy weather. This went on 24 hours a day. My neighbor works midnights. He was up all day long. My wife and I, we're retired, but we sleep at night. We're up all night long. Code enforcement approached the tenant about fixing it, and they gave him 30 days. He started to fix it on the 28th day. This is 28 days of not being able to sleep at night. They put it up, well, I should start at the beginning. I witnessed this roof being put on last year. I worked for a premier contractor for years here in Massena, and I know the building. And when they put it up, I said to my wife, that roof isn't gonna last a year. It did last until the next spring, and then we started with this metal flapping around. They came in and fixed it 28 days later, and I've got pictures of the repair. Typically, when you put metal down, you lap it and you nail it down. Well, they lapped it, they nailed it in the center, and the outside was sticking up. 4 days later, it blew off. Sometime later, they put it back on. It was on for 2 days. it still hasn't been finished. There's sections of the roof that are still missing. They never went right out to the gable ends. Besides that, there's been an issue, and when you talk garbage this weekend, I wanted to come down and find out what the code is on garbage. This is a multi-unit dwelling that has 18 garbage cans out front that never get picked up because they don't do the recycling. I've got pictures here of garbage cans lined up with garbage bags next to them an hour after the garbage truck went by. Now, I got skunks, and apparently, I guess we're starting to get rats, but we got all sorts of feral cats in our neighborhood. So the garbage is an issue. Now, the appearance of this building, every cellar window is plywooded over, so hopefully, nobody's down cellar when a fire breaks out and they have to escape through a cellar window. There's other doors and windows that are boarded up. Every wall in the building, there's siding missing, and that just expands on how much is missing by the month. They never had the front door closed. Now, this same tenant bought the apartment across the road, and there's a dismantling business going on there, which I think they need a permit for. Actually, is what it is some people trying to make some money off collecting scrap, but it's unsightly. I've got a picture for you, and I don't think there's one person in here that would allow that, their next door neighbor to do that to them. I've run a business in this town for 34 years, and some of my clients had to come to my home, and I was ashamed to have them drive through my neighborhood. The second apartment that I talked to about, right now the grass is over a foot tall. There's all sides of the building is garbage piled up and bicycles and these collapsible tents. They found the frame off of one that got busted. They got piles of junk. These buildings are being housed by social service recipients, which we are all paying for. Their rent, their heat, their lights, their rent, their medical, their phone, everything gets paid for by the taxpayer. Now, you got a businessman that buys a building, wants to use his rents to pay it off so that eventually he can sell it and put that money in his pocket. But he has absolutely no consideration for the neighborhood, the taxpayers that live in the neighborhood where his tenement buildings are. And I would like to see the village set up a meeting on the responsibilities of landlords. Can they allow their, the day I came home when that roof was flying around, my wife and I pulled in the driveway, everybody on the street was lined up looking into my backyard, and I said, what's going on? They said, the roof came off your house. I went running out back, it was the neighbors. That, the fact that the code enforcement given them 30 days to fix that, I feel was unreasonable, because that big sheet of metal could have flown off at any time and hit anybody walking down the street. It could have gone into somebody's window next door. I think that's very unreasonable to, in this instance, being unsafe and being a noise nuisance. They should have been made to fix it immediately, not 30 days later, and then do it half-assed so that it blows off 2 days later. But that's why I'm here. I'm here to encourage you to write up some sort of conduct for tenants, especially the ones that are got their hands out to social service. They're loading their pockets up with these tenants. Now, I can tell you that we have parolees, probationers, drug addicts, pedophiles living in my neighborhood, where I've talked to other families and they're afraid to let their kids out on the street because they don't know what these people are up to. There's one apartment building that I'm going to drop his name, Sean Tron owns, and another property that Sean Tron owns that are full of social service people, and they get in very belligerent arguments back and forth, a lot of profanities, and the rest of the neighborhood just have to sit there and listen to that. That landlord has no responsibility for maintaining his property or having any supervision over the people that live there. And I would encourage you to look at that issue. Now, this Trana, he owned the old homestead doors. He has what we have affectionately referred to as the OxyContin Hotel, the old Jack's Hideaway. He has many properties around here, and they're all about the same thing, collecting from social services and destroying neighborhoods. He's blighted every place he's been. I'm surprised Joe Gray allows the old homestead store to run across from his place, which I don't know if it does still or not, but landlord responsibilities is what I'd like to see you set up a public comment session on. Thank you for your time, and I do have some pictures that I
You shared those,
think
actually pass them to us, we'll give them to Aaron and Code, because that's evidence that can be used to turn properties into nuisance properties. And that's one of the biggest tools that we have.
One of the reason why I came here was it was posted, it was publicized that your meeting was gonna be on garbage. Is there any code that says if you have multiple dwellings in a building, that maybe you should have a dumpster?
They have to sorry.
No.
They have to participate in refuse collection provided by the village for five or less. So if there are 5 or less families living in the same, so essentially if there's a 6 unit, then they can either use ours or get a dumpster. Anything less than 6, we pick up.
Okay, now that brings up a point. The second property that I talked about, that's at 258 Center Street. I talked to my neighbor Corey Jarrett, who has a direct view of this apartment, and he claims there's anywhere from 12 to 14 people living in that building. And I don't know how many it's registered to, you know, as far as occupancy, but they got quite a few people, and they're not the best people to be converging in a neighborhood. But it's something that I think we need to look at in this town.
Well, I'm all on board in making stuff more stringent. I know, you know, we develop the laws and we give it to our guys across the road to go do this. Sometimes they're hamstrung, right? Right? If we give them a law that says 30 days, that they're following it. So maybe we need to go another step, right? I know last year we put in an apartment code, right? So that's the first step. So maybe we need to take it a step farther, right? I know there's other places on Beach Street, there's constant problems. So maybe we need to have more of a presence over there, and maybe we need to start, you know, taking some of these property owners to court.
I have called code enforcement, and they've been very receptive to my concerns.
Yeah.
But as you say, they're hamstrung.
They're hamstrung by
I
us,
think you
right?
need to look at the laws.
We make the laws, right, and even, you know, I do this for a living for the state, right? We're hamstrung by what's given to us, right? So maybe it's, all right, this is your one chance, all right, here's your appearance ticket, go tell the court, right? And if again, go tell the court why you're not taking care of your property. You know, most of us live in nice neighborhoods. I live in a nice neighborhood, right? There's a property kitty-corner from me. The past 6 months it's been good. Previously it was not good, right? We'd be on the porch and then maybe, you know, we having a birthday party and they could care less what they were doing to us, right? And I get it. So I think it's, maybe we need to step up and give them some more tools.
You need to give them
Along
more
with the police
teeth.
department, work together, right? Hey, we're here.
More teeth to the laws,
We're
and
here to-
give them
we're here,
more
right.
authority.
Because
And I only have one question, Greg. You and I go back sometime on this issue. You said there was gonna be a nuisance issue, or citation issue?
We need evidence, and so that's what I was asking for. than just code violations, it's also, I mean, very general here, how many times the police department shows up?
They're there quite often at both apartments, and another thing, the Board of Health ought to be bought into this, because one of the apartments upstairs, my neighbor's lawnmower broke down, so I went over and mowed his lawn, so I got to get up close to this building, and they're throwing, I don't know what, if it's grease or garbage, and it's out of an upstairs window, it's running down the side of the building, and I witnessed orange peels and just garbage that had, they're just throwing it out the window. They're not even taking it to a trash can.
When Chief Olson gets back, we'll kind of look at the second part of that and get a report from him on how many actual times they're.
And I've always said this, right, be a good neighbor, but there's people that don't wanna be a good neighbor anymore. I don't get that, right? You spend all this money on your home and you don't care, I don't get it, I don't get it, so
I don't live on Mortgage Hill, but I do live across the road from our town councilman, past town councilman, Sam Carbone's property is across from ours. And I'm very proud of my property, and he's very proud of his property. We've got two rental properties next door right now that yesterday and the day before they mowed the lawn for the first time in 6 weeks. But as I drive around my neighborhood as these tenants are buying up the properties and making money off of them, they're
maybe they're
lighting.
vampires, they don't come out during the sun.
Yeah, we got some of those, a lot of those. But I thank you for your listening to my concerns, and I will have some pictures for you.
So, thank you.
That area over there, I did a little bit of research a couple of weeks ago, we've had over 100 complaints this year alone, just in that area from what my guys have done. It's a very busy
Look how much money we spent in that area last year, right? Over in Sycamore, how much money did we spend, right? And it's the rest of us who are good neighbors that have to foot the bill for all this, right?
What about the light and property abatement? Is that a
I
tool that
think
we can utilize?
We need to relook at that. I think that,
Because there's fines associated with that.
yes, but I think we really need to take a better look at the point system on that and a few other things. I'll be honest with you. Next meeting, we go with it.
One last thing, if I may. Parking on the sidewalk at the 258 Center Street. They park on the sidewalk, and there's absolutely no grass between the sidewalk and the curb. It's mud. And they have a huge parking lot that's never a car in it out back of that property. But the guy is not really all there. I've seen him jack up his car and take the wheels off it and let it sit there on the sidewalk for 3-4 days.
I'm just looking at pictures, and then we're looking at pictures of Google Maps.
Yeah, that's not acceptable either. I know I like to go for walks.
If you give that to
I hate
those
having
guys, we'll,
sidewalks and straw pigs.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I've been by this place a million, in fact, there's been days where we've written up this, and then 2 days later, it's got all new stuff again.
Should be grass there. It should be on the sidewalk.
Yep, actually, Chief Olson, I've talked to him multiple times about those problems, and he sent officers out to take
And you'll
care of
see
it.
now that's on the
That's-
corner of
I
Center.
believe that one actually should be
Now,
called
that's
up
a
on
dissembler.
tomorrow.
Or,
Yep.
no, that's the.
Yeah, that's, I know what it goes with that.
And one last thing I'd like to do,
I'm gonna hand that over to them.
if you can hear this is what, you've heard this.
I've heard
Yeah, I
it, I've
think I
seen
sent
it.
it to
Yeah,
him.
I've seen it and heard it, yep.
Okay. That's what we listened to,
And we've heard it.
all night long for 28 days. And once again, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, there's no old business. So we'll move on to new business. First up, we need to authorize amendment number 3 with Wright Pierce Engineering Consultants, PC, for design of the water main replacement, including bracket rated bridge crossing. So this is basically our design group that's going to get up the plans for our the water line.
Yeah, it's for the 420, the bridge crossing. We signed an agreement with them, that was a year ago. It's basically been designed, turned over to the state. They replied back, they want this changed. And also Rick Pierce assisted LaBella with our pre-engineering reports and stuff for the WIA grant that we just submitted. And that's what this extra 27,000 toward that is. This project will be shovel ready when we find out if we get grants or not. It's ready to go, so.
Entertain a motion for that authorization. Moved by trustee Simpson, second. Second by trustee McDaniel. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up. Need a motion to authorize the agreement with Precision Industrial Maintenance, LLC for CCTV inspection, Grass River Sewer Shed Evaluation. Entertain a motion. Moved by trustee Pete, second by trustee Winston. Marty, you want to quickly back?
Yeah, so what this is we're currently participating in the Grass River Sewer Shed evaluation with LaBella, the grant. We had, actually the village is on, for $10,000. Was trying to do all that with administrative costs, and we tried to camera with our camera inside this 30-inch sewer main. We just couldn't do it. So this firm could do it as one day, it's $5,900. It would fall into our $10,000 allotment toward matching for this grant, so I'm asking for the board's approval on that.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we need authorization to purchase a copier for the water billing department. Moved by trustee Winston, second. Second by trustee Simpson.
Marty, is this a copier or a printer? Cause
It's
on
a
the,
printer, it's a printer.
okay,
I'm
cause I
sorry.
was,
Please note that change, guys, it's a printer. Questions? All those
This was
in-
budgeted for,
Yeah,
this was budgeted for.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, motion to authorize, looks like iWork, Q, looks like. Software purchase at the Department of Public Works. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee McGowan, second by trustee Winston. What's this for, Marty?
This is a software package, which I put in the budget for the water department, sewer department, street department, refuse. It can be used in every department. I was hoping to be able to, because I know the code, I think uses iWorks, and I was hoping to be able to just buy, I was gonna try to save some money, maybe buy modules to go off there, but obviously. I used this at the county highway, implemented Village of Canton when I was there, and it's a great tool to have when you really don't have an engineering team anymore. There's a lot of things that this can help us do for the future of the village, so. And it's 18,100, but that's the year one, because you have to need to implement it. Moving forward, it'll be cheaper than that, once it's implemented, so.
Would I work with your stuff too? That way you guys could,
Well,
maybe.
But we can discuss that, and I don't know if we could tie them all in together.
Nikki's already got access to our code enforcement app, so.
Oh, the only reason I was
cleanups and any
asking.
of that kind of stuff, she's got full access. to
Okay,
be
well,
able
the
to
reason I was
review and
asking
keep
is that
track of that.
sometimes it's hard to find a property owner where they know who the
That's,
property owner is.
actually, I had a conversation with Nikki about that today, so.
you said the 18,000, that was just, the first year?
Yeah, then after that, it's gonna be, I think it was like 12,400 yearly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next up, need a motion to authorize request to canvass for a motor equipment operator near the park. Moved by trustee Winston, second in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, proposed resolution authorize Grass River non-agricultural, non-point source planning grant application. Entertain a motion. Moved by trustee Pete, second. Second by trustee Simpson. Submit a grant application.
So it's for the engineering design report for the stream bank or shoreline stabilization project to reduce erosion and protect the existing sewer trunk line located on the south bank of the Grass River between Parker and the village.
Actually ties in with the Grass River Sewer Shed right now, that's what it covers. So once you're done with the evaluation grant, they're gonna present a report in which it's gonna tell you in there erosion across. So this is the next step, going for grant money for, to fix the problem.
Sorry, Marty, I didn't mean to speak for you. She just typed it up and a nice little name. That's the boxes.
So roll call vote, trustee Peets,
Aye.
trustee McCown.
Aye.
Trustee Winston,
Aye.
trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Next up, a proposed resolution to authorize the raw water transmission line, the Empire State Development Grant application. Who's that? Moved by trustee Winston, second. Second by trustee Peets. This is, again, another grant.
Yeah, and that's for the raw water
Yep.
line for the intake.
Roll call vote, trustee Peets,
Aye.
trustee McGowan.
Aye.
Trustee Winston.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Thanks, Marty.
Yep, thank you.
See you, Marty. See you, Marty.
Have a good night.
Next up, a proposed resolution to revise the personnel policy manual, section 407, expense reimbursement and replacement travel manual, dated July 16, 2020. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Pete, second. Second by trustee McCown. In essence, we're now following the same pattern. It's a roll call vote. Trustee Peets,
Aye.
trustee McGowan,
Aye.
trustee Winston,
Aye.
trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Sorry, that took longer than. It is what it is, stuff happens. Next up, proposed resolution to approve the agreement between the Village of Massena and our office personnel staff. Entertain a motion. Moved by trustee McGowan, second. Yeah. Second by trustee Simpson. Questions? It's a roll call vote. Trustee Peets,
Aye.
trustee McGowan,
Aye.
trustee Winston,
Aye.
trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Next up, entertain a motion for the appointment of, permanent appointment of Page Brothers, the senior clerk in the senior police department.
That's moved.
Moved by trustee Winston, second.
Sorry.
Second by trustee Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, voucher warrants.
I'd like to make a motion that the voucher warrants signed by trustee Peets, myself, and Mayor Pinkman are approved.
Second?
Second.
Second by trustee Simpson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Pretty much did all our monthly reports, excluding Massena
Yeah, it's on the drive.
and Friends. Communications correspondence? Closing public comment period. Anyone wishing to address the board, ask a question? Seeing none, we do have a very quick need for executive session to discuss the possible land sale of a piece of land within the village. There won't be any action taken, and the action will be taken within the next month.
You can come out of executive session and take action.
Oh, then there probably will be action taken. want to stick around, I'm sure you can find out more about the budget. So I'll entertain a motion for a go executive session. Moved by trustee Simpson, second. Second by trustee Wilson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion